Hello.
Hey, hi.
Hi, Amrit. How are you doing?
I'm good. Just we were on admin, so we just switched over this meeting that was.
Yeah, I saw that for a couple of minutes it was showing like host is in another meeting, so I had to wait.
Yeah.
Mm,
So today is session 2, right?
Session three. So this is session three for Lightning Web Components, and today Pratap is not is not there, so I'll be conducting this session solely. And so we are going to so let's wait for 5 minutes so like few more people join.
Yes, yes, sure.
Okay, am I audible clearly? uh, Guys, please message your friends if somebody was supposed to join. So I'm starting in a minute. So okay, I guess we should start. I'll share my screen. Okay, is my screen visible to all? Okay, seeing some chats. Okay, so let's start. So hello, this is Rahul again. Um, this is like Salesforce Lightning Web Component Development Workshop number 3, hosted by Tequila Global Services. And in 2 minutes, I'll have a recap of what we have learned in session 1 and 2. So like in session 1, like we had brief introduction about Lightning Web Components and like what are their features and what are their um, like advantages and disadvantages and why LWC, all these kind of topics we covered. And then in the second session, we actually discussed about what is the reactivity of Lightning Web Component, uh, what is Shadow DOM in Lightning Web Component, and a little bit of decorators. So this session will be like you can say like we are going to see those details like those uh, decorators and properties in detail, and we are going to see live like example. So I have built some components. So I'm going to show that to you, and I'm also going to share that code. Okay, so uh, so like decorators and component properties, we everybody know that like uh, it's like a member. So like what is decorator, what is property to Lightning Web Component? It is like a member to the class. Okay, and then in previous sessions I actually missed this part that I didn't give introduction on SLDS. So if anybody is not familiar, so it's Salesforce Lightning Design System. So it's a CSS framework or library, you can say, for Salesforce Lightning development, which is very similar to Bootstrap. Like you can create grids, you can create different text. You have pre-built classes for or like all kind of boilerplate or repetitive things like for setting margins and paddings and spacing alignments. And there are some um, uh, standard Lightning components which are built on top of this Lightning design system. So all those stylings are included in Lightning design system. So let me quickly go to, okay. Okay, so am I audible clearly? I think it's like from panelist, I'm only the person here. So if you face any problem, let me know in the chats. So I get to know. Okay, and okay. So next we are going to see is how to iterate a list in HTML. Okay, so like we all know about for loops and while loops and do while loops, but how do we iterate in like HTML part of Lightning Web Components? So for that we have two different methods to iterate the HTML part. Let's say in this example we'll see like uh, so you have list of contacts. Okay, so you want to display just name and title of that contact. So how you can do is you can so you have one property called contacts which stores all the contacts data, and on your HTML side what you are going to do is you are going to use the template for each tag. So with the template tag we have this special attribute called for each. So it iterates over a list uh, or array in terms of JavaScript, and so contacts is my list, and for item. Okay, so for each it's so here we need to specify the list which we are going to iterate, and here we are going to provide the what is the name of the variable that we are going to use to represent a single item in the array. Uh, okay, it's like I like we generally use like I in the for loop as a variable uh, to keep track of like what is the current indexed. And here, so we whatever element we have inside uh, uh, template for each or in in the iterator, we need to have key element for that. So this is very important. Without that you will not be able to save the code, and this key has to be unique, because this key is used by Lightning Web Component runtime to render the components specifically. That is why we say that it's so whenever anything changes, it renders a very specific part or very specific element on the page, and not everything. So like we are just iterating a list over here, and another iterator option in HTML part of Lightning Web Component is template with iterator it attribute. Okay, so it is very similar to the for each, but it has one additional thing on top of the conventional for each. So here the syntax is a little bit different. So we don't have to specify the name for the iterator variable. So it is automatically generated by the framework, and we call it it. And to access the values, we use the syntax like it dot value dot and whatever the field name is. Unlike the in the previous in the template for each, we use contact dot name, but here we use it dot value dot name. Okay. And here also you must have to pass the key attribute. And then what is additional thing additional thing in template iterator is it gives us a variable called two variables called first and last. Okay, so based on that we can check if it is the first element in the array or if it is the last element in the array. So if you might have a certain requirement where you want to apply specific like special styling for first element in the list or last element in the list or both. So in that case we use this this particular property called it.first. So if it is the first element in the list, then it will be true, and we can have certain kind of special CSS or some other functionality based on that. Okay. Next, so as we say, like Lightning Web Component is a component-based framework. So where we create small components and we reuse them. Okay, so to be able to do that, we need to have ability to pass data between the components. Okay, so for that we have different methodologies. So as we have like private properties in Lightning Web Component, so there is other thing called as like public property. If you say here, we use @API decorator for that, and whatever the variable name or property name we have. So this particular attribute can be set by the parent or the container component of. So this is the to-do.js. So a to-do item component, and this is the to-do app. So basically this is parent, and if you can say I have defined here item name, and so the same property I can set from its parent. So we have C. So C is the namespace. C is for custom, and it is the standard namespace for all of the org if it is not the managed package. Okay. Then we have we have this component to do item. Notice how the naming convention change. So whatever capital character we have, like here we have I, will be replaced with hyphen or dash and small case of that particular character. So like here we have to do item where I is capital. So we will need to use that whenever we are going to use it in any other HTML component. We have to use that like namespace dash the first word dash whatever the next word is. Like we have to separate that word by dash. And one thing you have to remember that never use all caps character names for like all caps to name the Lightning Web Component. So what will happen is you will get like, let's say if I do it like I capital, T capital, E capital, and M capital. So every character will have a dash between them, and it is not readable, and it is not good thing. So because it's like obnoxious, it gives a obnoxious look to the code, and it is not readable. So here simply we created public property, and here from its container component we are passing it. So the same naming convention that we use for the components, it is applicable to the attributes. Like we see here item and n capital name, so that will be replaced with item in all smalls dash name. Okay. um, so this is about the public property. So we are going to see this in detail. Then there is, so there is another way the parent component can send data to child or can do some operation. So like it's like a public function. Okay, so that function can be called by the parent component by getting the component by using the query selector, and then it can directly call the public functions. And then we have special kind of public attributes called as uh, getter setters. So in the first example here we see like here, let's say this item name, whenever the parent component passes the item name, I want to convert that into uppercase name. Whatever the text we have here, I want to convert that into uppercase whenever I receive that in the to do item component. So with this we cannot do this because whatever the property set by the parent component is read only. We can change the reference, but we cannot change the uh, change the what are the properties of that particular data. So here, like as like this, as this is a string, we can change that, but it is not recommended. So what we need to do in this case, so we have a special thing for that called uh, getter setters. Let's say this is my to do item, and whenever the parent component sets the to do item value, I want to convert that to uppercase. So for that, I need to define um, getter and setter. So this is very similar to getter setter in Java or Apex. So okay, so um, here we have this item name, so we have converted that into getter and setter. So whenever we want to give ability to set the property with getter setter by parent component, then we use this at the API attribute, and that we always use with the get, like getter function. Okay, so whenever data comes in from the parent component, what we, so the framework calls the setter method, and in that setter method we can do pre-processing to a data. Let's say here whenever the parent component is passing some text as a value, that value I am going to convert into uppercase, and that I am going to store in this uppercase whatever this variable uppercase item name. And uh, in this way, so we can leverage the public attribute, and we can have it as a private attribute also. So like here my private attribute is uppercase item, and my public attribute is get item name. Remember, never keep these two names same. Okay, it will cause a problem because first it will not let you save the code. Previously it did, but I think from today it's not letting you save because it is like a duplicate variable. So whatever the private property you have, you can like you can add private word to that, and you can do whatever operation you need to do. Okay, So this was all about how pass data to child from parent. So now we need to see how child can send data to parent. So here there is only way, which is custom event, and this is the format for that. And this is like standard a JavaScript code. So we use like a dispatch event and the name of the event. Okay, and we can also send some details like if any objects or data we want to send. And whatever the event name we define here, it always have to be in lowercase, even if there are like multiple words. Like let's say if it was instead of previous, it was previous pages. So I will have to write in like previous pages in all lowercase. And so now this is how we dispatch event from child, and how do we handle that in parent. Okay, so assume that I have like I'm doing some kind of pagination, and I have a component called paginator, which is firing some event and sending some data to its parent whenever somebody clicks on previous or next button. Okay, with that I want to send the page number or any attribute if it is needed. Or so here, as we can see, we written event name as previous. So whenever we handle that event, so whatever the component we have, like this is the code in paginator, and this is our paginator component in the parent. Okay, so whatever the event name we have defined, we at we attach on before it. Okay, and it is again in all lowercase. So it is very similar to like on change and on input, all those standard JavaScript events. So it's like we are defining some custom uh, uh, like custom on change event, or like we are extending the standard JavaScript events. So here, as we define previous, then we do on previous is equal to, and then we define the handler. Okay, and then the handler can have attribute as event, and that can have data like event or details, and we can send that data. So here we have two different events, like previous and next. So, and these are the handlers we have for those in the parent component. Okay, and yeah, so that's it. Let's see if we have some questions. Okay. Okay, what is meant by grid in SLDS? So grid is like uh, it's like a table or a box, like a box structure where we can manage the multiple elements. Let's say I have certain components which I can manage in rows and columns. Okay, so so with those classes, I can define how many columns I want in one row. So um, you can. So let me show you SLDS grid. So so these are the classes. So like we can divide one particular area into number of columns, like this. Like here we have divided this div into 3 columns, and also we can have like multiple rows like this. So this is called as grid. Let's say if we have any other questions. Okay, can we pass two function from child to parent? uh, I guess you uh, so we cannot pass functions. We can pass, like we can fire event from child to parent. Yeah, you can fire as many as events from child to parent. Okay, then okay, how, as we showed on previous, so can we pass next in the same method, or we need to dispatch? you can do that, like you can do that. So basically you can pass multiple event, you can fire multiple event from a single place, like from a single method, but like I never came across like a real-time scenario for that. So we fire specific events on specific some like specific interaction by the user. Okay. I think there were some questions in the chat as well. Uh, okay. How we can pass multiple parameters to parent? Yeah. So like we can fire multiple. So you can pass multiple parameters to a parent using one event, or if you need, you can fire multiple events like that. We are going to see, and let's see if we have any more questions. I guess when when @wire methods get called in LWC lifecycle. Okay, so this is a very good question. So this we are going to see in upcoming. I guess yeah, we are going to see it in today's session if time permits us. So the yeah, I'm going to share all the lectures. So wire method gets called when component is connected. Okay, so whenever component is loaded into DOM hierarchy, and whenever then it gets called. But like if you have multiple wire methods, we do not guarantee in what sequence they will be called, and that is what I can tell you right now. Yeah, but I guess so I can tell you more about that maybe in next session. So yeah, I guess do we have any questions? Okay, so we are moving to okay, so what we see here, like we see how to iterate a list. So okay, are you ready for this? So I have created one component, like multiple components. Okay, so as we discussed in our previous sessions, we are going to build one project. Um, um, okay, where is the design? So I guess I that tab. Let me go to my drive quickly. Okay, so as we saw in the previous session, so I'm just going to going quickly through it. So like we are going to design some kind of shopping experience using Lightning Web Component. So like we have this product tile component that we built in last session, which we are going to reuse. Okay, now we will see how we do how we actually do the iteration. Okay, so this outer component you can see is my product list component, okay, that I have already created, and this is my product tile component, so where I am going to show each and every product. So this component I have created once, and I am using it many times, just passing like different data to it. Okay, so I have added some basic functionality for it, like I can add to cart, and I can remove, and it shows me like whatever based on the quantity, it shows me the total price. Okay, so this is just the first component. Then we have here search products. So here this is our search product component, and here, so this component, actually I have changed the design little bit. I'm going to add that component here between like on the top section, and this the left component I have already added here, um, filters component. Okay, and this data you are seeing now, it is hard coded data. Okay, so I have hard coded this products in my JavaScript controller. Okay, and what is this? So like, so um, where are you seeing this particular page? So I have created Lightning app page, and I have put all the components on it. So this is my component called product search. This is my component product filter. I guess it is not. Okay. So this is my product filters, and so first we are going to see how we iterate the list. Okay, so let me go to the product list component quickly. Okay, so before that, I have done some changes. Okay, let me go to the product list first. So okay, so this is the data I have hard coded here. I have just added the data in JSON format, which we are going to replace with the wired method. Okay. Sorry guys for that. There was some connection problem. Okay, am I audible? Okay, thanks. Okay, so I'm going to okay. So this is my one product where I have ID, then image URL, then product name, display, price, then quantity. We can call default quantity, and then name of the product. So here on my HTML part, so if you can see, this is my product list component, this is my product list.html, and this is my product list.meta XML file. Okay, so in my HTML file, what I'm doing is for template for each products. This is the same attribute property that I have defined here. Then for item product, so this will be the identifier for my product, so I can I can access the particular product element. Okay, so as I said before that Lightning, so like in iterator, we must have to provide unique key. Okay, so here I have used, so here I'm using SLDS grid or Salesforce Lightning Design System grid to create this table like structure for my page. Okay, So, and this will be responsive. If my screen size allow, it will try to fit more and more elements, or if the screen size is smaller, it will try to push the component to the next line. Okay, and it is mobile friendly. So uh, here I'm using lightning layout item, and this is my lightning layout. Okay, so what lightning layout does is it allows me to divide my component into different parts, and here the item I can mention. I use the lightning layout item to represent that part, and here I can mention the size, and I have multiple size, like for how much should be size for the smaller device, how much size for the medium device, and how much size should be for uh, a large device. Basically, this grid, whatever we have in the particular grid, is divided into 12 different sections, and we can provide for each item. We can provide one to like between 1 to 12 size, and here I have added this attribute called multiple rows. It means if if it exceeds the width of device, the next components will be rendered on the next line. And here I have used my product tile component that we created last week. Okay, um, so let me show you the product tile component. I have made many changes to that. I have added many things for that. I have added um, little snazzy style for that. And if you can see, my product tile component name is product, where all characters are lowercase and tile T is capital. So how we are referring it here in my product list component, C, where C is the namespace, then hyphen or dash product dash tile. Okay, and I have defined, as we discussed about the public properties. Okay, so I have defined one public attribute here called product API product. Okay, which allows me to get data from the parent. Okay, so here I'm passing that data from my parent. Okay, uh, okay, and yeah, that's it. So, and the result of this, um, as we see here. Okay, so for each different product, the product tile component has the different data, and we can we can see all the products in the list. Okay, so going back to the product tile component. Okay, so the first point, I guess, we covered, like about the public attribute. Okay, then next thing is getters and setters. Okay, so what I want to do here is, so whenever I'm showing this grid or product catalog, I want to mention some default quantity in each of these inputs. Okay, if I refresh this, so you can see that all components have default quantity as 1. Okay, um, so for that, I want to allow the parent component to set my default quantity. Okay, and as that quantity is going to change whenever user interacts with this. Okay, so for that, I want that quantity to change every time user interacts. So what I did for that, I created getter setter named default quantity. Okay, and I have set this value to my private variable called quantity, so that whenever, so the same quantity attribute I have used here. So where is that quantity? Okay, so I guess I need to use quantity here. Okay, I have used it here, quantity. So whenever that will change, the product tile component it will store that in my this quantity variable. So I can get default quantity from parent, and I can change quantity whenever I want. So this is what the benefit of getters and setter the uh, over the public attribute. Okay, and here I have like some private attributes and for few just getters. So if we can see, as I change the quantity, here my total is getting changed uh, based on my price. Okay, so for that I have defined one getter called get total price, and what I'm doing here is this dot quantity into this dot product dot display price. So whatever display price I have mentioned here, which is passed through this product to the style, okay, I'm going to multiply that by quantity. Okay, and if you can see, as I add product, the add to cart button goes away, and it 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 renders a remove component so that we can remove that particular product from cart. Okay, for that I have used um, another attribute called added to cart. Okay, so this here again I am using this API attribute. Okay, so so that I can pass this information from my parent later. And also I want to change that added to cart when your user interacts. So for that, based on that added to cart variable, I have these two buttons here, lightning button with variant is equal to success. So whenever we use lightning, so like we get like default pre-built component. So like this is the pre-built component with variant success, which is here with green color, and this is with variant destructive. Okay, so so based on, so if you can see here, okay, let me zoom my, okay, if you can see here, um, I am using the same attribute to render different buttons. So if this added to cart attribute is false, then I want to show the success button with label add to cart. And this is the method that it is going to call. Okay. Okay. And if the is added to cart is is true. Okay. For success it is false, and for destructive it is true. Then I want to show the button with variant destructive label remove and this particular method. Okay, so as we can see, and okay, and I am showing the image using simple inline style like background image property, and I'm using a template literal here. You can search more about template literal because this that will be out of scope of this particular uh, workshop. But anyway, in future we can conduct one separate session on that. So I have used template literal where I am passing the image. Okay, and okay, now we discussed about public like sending data from parent to child. Okay, with three different scenarios so the method one, public method, we are going to see that in upcoming sessions, but we saw how we can pass data from parent to child using public attribute and getter setter. Okay, so now we have now we have this, how we can send data to parent, and here we don't need to make any confusion. We have only one thing called custom event. Okay, so as of now I have just written code. so that I can fire this event from my child component, okay, which is product tile. So the syntax is this dot, so this, whenever you see this, it refers to this particular component and this particular class, okay. So okay, so what I do whenever I click on what added to cart or remove from cart, okay. So I'm so if you are wondering how these buttons are getting changed, this is changed based on this particular value which we have used here, based on true or false. And here I'm dispatching new custom event called new custom event added to cart, and as I said, we can pass data, okay. So what information I will need so that I can know what product was added and what was the quantity for that product, okay. So I can pass in my custom event, I'm passing one object as detail, okay. So this is a standard form. You have to mention detail, and whatever you want to pass, you can pass in between as a property of that detail. So in detail, I have product ID where I'm passing this dot product ID. Now for each of these components will have different product ID that I'm going to pass, and I'm going to pass the selected quantity that will be, again, that might be different, might be same, okay. And what I do when I do remove from cart. So whenever I want to remove from cart, I just need to know what product that was, so I can simply remove that from cart. So I just need to pass the product ID, okay. So whatever the the parent component is, that can get the details about the uh, like details about the cart, okay. So okay, now we saw, okay, what is the next topic? I guess wired, okay. So okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how this component is rendered here. So these two components, okay, the search your favorites and the catalog, are added on some different component here, which is product search. So and the product search component, I'm going to show you. Okay, so in my product search component, I have just created two different lightning layout item, so that my first component will get 100% of the width and the second component get 100% of the width. So I am displaying the product search form. This product search form component is very simple. Let me open that. Okay, product search form. Okay, so here I am just using simple lightning input of type search with variant label hidden. I don't want to show any label. And whenever that value changes, I'm going to call this particular action method from this particular handler controller, and from here I'm going to dispatch a simple event called search, and here I'm going to pass whatever the key, whatever the text user type here, okay. So uh, so this is the component which gets the search key, and this is the component which shows the products. Now what we want to do, now we want to implement this functionality so that whenever any user types, we want to search those products by name. So I'm going to keep it very simple. I'm just going to search it by name, okay, and using the like clause in the SOQL, Salesforce object query language. And for that, I have already written one class called product service, which we are going to use a lot in future. Product service. Okay. Okay. So here I have two very simple functions: get product, basically, which is querying the products, and another function is get products, where I can pass the name of the product. Okay. So what we are going to do is we are going to call this method using wired attribute. So, and as you can see, I have added Aura enable so that it is visible to the lightning components. Let me show you the product search. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my query in this product search component. So, okay. So the label and title attribute is, so the label is, you see here on the button, and if we hover, we see a little what we call as tooltip. So that title attribute used to show that tooltip. You can see here as well, I guess. No? Okay, so here we have, I guess not all components support that. So that when we hover on something where users see like little message like what is that, and so what I'm going to do is, so the product search component is this. So basically these my search component and catalog component are wrapped inside my product search component. So what I'm going to do is, whenever user types, I'm going to capture that information, send to parent, and then that parent is going to query the data, and then it is going to send to this particular product list component. For that, we need to one thing, the product list component first. We need to make this particular @, API. So before that, we need to import whatever the decorators we use. We need to import those. Okay. So whenever the parent component will set this value, the default value will get overwritten. Okay, we have 6 minutes remaining. I'm going to quickly do it. And okay, so let's close this product. Let's go to the product search forms controller. No, so we have already dispatched and handled event here. So we don't need these all other components. Close others, and I need search JS. Okay, so I need one attribute called search key, where I'm going to store the value. And now we are seeing how we can handle the event fired by parent child component. This is very simple. We write a method. We get write attribute event. It is not always necessary if you don't need to pass data. So if you remember product search form. Okay, so from here I have passed event called search, and I'm passing the name. Okay, let's call it search. It's more relevant. Okay, so in the events detail, I'm passing the search key. Okay, what are the value type by the user? So I can set the search key is equal to event dot detail dot search. Okay, so whatever the search key is there, I will get that in my parent component. Now I have the search key, and now I just need to get the data. I have already written the Apex. Let me open that as well. Okay. Come on. Yeah. So where were we? I guess here. Okay. So what I need to do is I need to call this method. First, I need to import this particular method. Excuse me. So here I'm going to say import the name of the method. I'm going to call this method. Let's comment this for a while. Okay. And um, duplicate or enabled. So that we don't get confused. Okay. So I'm going to call import this method here. Um, where is it? Not in this component. We don't need this. Okay. Import get products from at the rate Salesforce apex slash, okay, my class name and the method name. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is at the rate wire and the name of the method comma, I'm going to pass some parameters. Remember the parameter names should match. Okay. So I'm going to say name equal to so now I need to pass this particular value to the products attribute. Okay, and I'm going to store that value in products variable. Okay, so wire method you can handle as a property or you can handle as a function. Okay, so here I'm just using simple property called products. And see this, whatever the property I want to pass into a wired method, we need to use this syntax. We need to include that property name into quotes, double quotes or single quotes, and we need to append dollar symbol to that. So it means that whenever that value changes, this wire will get called. Okay, so there was a question by someone like when wire gets called in the life cycle. So I forgot to mention that every time the referred property changes, wire gets called again and again. So whenever my search key will change, this wire is going to be called. Okay, and I'm going to pass this particular data to product list products equal to. Now, so the wire method result or property has a particular format. So always the data is stored, whatever the property you define. Let's call this wired product, so it doesn't make us confused. So whenever we call this wired property or data, the result is divided into two parts: data and errors. Okay, so whatever the property I have, I am just going to so I'm just going to call wired products dot data. So whenever that will change, it will get me the data. Okay, so let's save this. I guess we are running out of time. Okay, let's see if everything is okay. So now it will not show anything if the if I do not search anything, that functionality I'm going to add so that it shows all the products by default. And let's type something. Okay, so here, so let's search something. Okay, so these data I am fetching from, so I forgot to add the price data in the product, so you will not be able to see that, but this is how the records are fetched. Okay, so it fetched all products because every string is like empty strings. Okay, so let's see if we have anything common in some products, and we'll search that. Let's Chitiz. Okay, it's working. And yeah, so now we need to add other functionalities like how we add to cart, how we place an order. So we can do all of this functionalities here. So that's it for like wire methods. We are going to see this in detail, and I hope you liked today's session. And let's so I know we are running out of time, so like I'm done with my session. So if you have some questions, so let's see. I guess we have few questions. um, okay, chats, come on, show me the chats. Okay, question: how does the product list LWC know that the product tile LWC is called C product type? Yeah, so um, let's go to the product tile component. Okay, so if you can see here, this bundle is named as product tile. Okay, so this you can consider as a folder, and whatever the folder name or the component we have, that is converted into kbab case. So what is kbab case? So whenever it is called kebab case because it looks like kebab, I guess. So like so you have, like, you separate each of the word using dash, and in camel case we separate those words using capital letter. So here the product tile, where is product tile? Okay, let's assume product list. So here product list is defined as this like products, then capital L list. So this particular name will be converted into kebab case, and the namespace will be attached to that. Okay, so the standard namespace is C, which stands for custom. And if you are working with managed package components, then they will have their own namespace, so that the components in different namespace can have same names. So let's say, okay, uh, let's say I have some other vendor which have the same product list component, but it will have some different namespace. Okay, and let's go to the next question. Can you please? Yes, I'm going to share this code, and I have also shared the previous code as well. I have already created a Git repository, and again I'll again share that. Okay, I guess we had some chat questions in the chat. Sorry guys for running late. So oh no. Uh, okay. Okay. It's pretty hard to manage. So guys, if you have any questions, please ask through Q&A, because it's very hard to read the chats. And okay, difference between wire and API when we use. So wire is used to uh, wire the APIs, database API or Salesforce Apex API and your JavaScript. Okay, and API is different. So API is for communicating between different products. Okay, so if you have two products, one is parent and one is other is child. So child product can define one attribute as public, and it will let the parent know that, okay, this is my public attribute and you can send anything, any data you want. And those, though these are just decorators, but their use cases are different. Okay, so and we never use two decorators for one property. We use only one at a time. Okay, and difference between, okay, the same question. I guess, yeah. So yeah, we have some questions here. Can you please explain with your example what is this keyword? Okay, um, so see. So this keyword is referred for the current instance of the class. Okay, and it is referred to, it is used to refer the like member properties. Like I can have different properties here, and whenever I need to access those, I use this. And this is used because, let's say, you can have another a block scope variable called search key. Okay, and we often do that. Okay, now how the compiler will know that if this is search key is local to this function, or this search key is uh, is the member of the class. Okay, so for this we use, for that we use this keyword, so that we know that this is the member of the class or the attribute of this particular component. Again, so like here we have all these different products, so that this will have a separate reference, a separate memory for all of these products. So each of the object of for each instance, we create instance of the component on UI. The runtime framework creates one memory block, and that memory block stores all the data, and it will be different for all of these. And to refer that particular data, we use this keyword. So if you are familiar with like object oriented, then you can, so like you can search. So that is what I can, so I can tell you right now, because it's very hard for me to explain that. I guess it is I I I was able to answer your question, but still there might be some gaps. But um, yeah, you can explore more on that. Can it be possible to switch directly from classic to framework to LWC instead of working? Yes, it is it is definitely possible. If you have experience with Visual Force, you can definitely go with Aura component. There is a trailhead as well for this. I'll share those links actually, and I guess yeah, we have covered all the questions. There is no decorator by default, but the property is reactive. Here, this property is reactive. Whenever this will change, the component is going to be re-rendered. Means that component will refresh itself. Okay. So thank you guys. We are already on top of hour, and I hope you like today's session. And also thank you. You all checked my Git repository, so I could know that okay, people are interested, and around 80 people um, uh, went to that Git repository and they actually checked the code, and it's good for me, so that So I am happy that it is helping other people. Thank you. I'll see you in the next week. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rahul.